Swag out there and boss.
And welcome to another episode of the Sartorian Geek Podcast by Webster Style, where we talk about bow ties, comic books, and everything in between. I'm your host, Webster Style, the man, the voice, the fragrance, coming back one more time. And let's jump right into the download with a game that I'm excited to play, but I haven't played it yet. It is from one of, I would say, arguably one of the most underrated science fiction franchises will come out in the past 25 years. Yes, it's been 25 years since Starship Troopers graced the screens. Now, there have been, if I remember correctly, 2 sequels to the original one. I've only seen the second one, which took everything in a totally different direction, but I enjoyed it. And the third one, to my understanding, went back to capture some of the magic of the original, bringing back Casper Van Dien and a couple of others from the original series, as well as there was an animated Starship Troopers cartoon early on. This is early CGI, which was pretty good and took a lot more inspiration from the source material by Robert Heinlein. Well, this is a new PC game, Starship Troopers Extermination. It's a shooter. It's from developer Offworld Industries and publisher Sony Pictures Consumer Products. Starship Troopers Extermination is a co-op FPS that puts you on the far off front lines of an all-out battle against the bugs. Squad up, grab your rifle, and do your part as an elite deep space vanguard trooper set to take back planets claimed by the arachnid threat. Now, looking at the trailer for this and just some gameplay online, I'm excited for this to come to consoles. Right now, the current version out is an early access version, so this isn't the full version of the game. It looks like you're playing a Starship Troopers movie. The bugs look great. Now, that should be expected considering you're talking about 1997 CGI or CGI designs in a 2023 PC video game. They should look near perfect in my opinion, but they do, and it looks exciting. And I'm not sure how many Starship Troopers games there have been in the past. I don't remember many. It seems like one of those properties that just has not been mined from the licensing end as far as video games are concerned. And Starship Troopers Extermination looks like a really good jumping in point to those who are not familiar with Starship Troopers, but even more so is great for those of us that have grown up with the series over the past 25 years and are really fans of it. So that's the download for this week, Starship Troopers Extermination. Now we're getting to the interview, and the interview is a content creator with whom I pretty much started following as soon as I got on TikTok about a year ago. I love Star Trek. You should know this by now if you listen to this podcast. And I had the pleasure of talking with another fellow Trekkie, that girl Navia. And that's pretty much her handle on all her socials. You can follow her there. She is the one third of the Sci-Fi Queens podcast over on Sanctum Sanctorum channel on YouTube, where they talk about science fiction and the women of science fiction. They had a really cool episode on the Doctor Companions not too long ago. You know how I am about Doctor Who as well. So stay tuned. Check out this great interview we did with Navia, and we'll come back and, well, we're going to talk some more Trek. See you then. What's going to rise websites out here? The man, the voice, the fragrance. Here with a guest I've been looking forward to talking to because if you have listened to the Sartorian Geek podcast, you know I'm an avid Trekkie. I've been a Trekkie since yay high, and I am always excited to talk to other Trekkies. And this lovely young lady here, someone who I found on TikTok and actually loved her comment. And we are joined today by Navia. She is 1/3 of the Sci-Fi Queens podcast and also has her own blog, Talking Trek, a Star Trek blog. Navia, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excellent. Look, I don't get to talk Trek, especially deeply, too often.
Okay.
So I am excited. Let me first off ask you, what made you fall in love with Star Trek?
So I was a huge Reading Rainbow fan growing up, and one day I was just flipping through a channel and I was like, LeVar's on this show with like weird glasses. I have to check this out. And that's how I got into it. And then watching the show, it was unlike any other TV show that was on TV that I could watch. My parents are both immigrants to this country, so we weren't allowed to watch a lot of live action TV, and Star Trek was the only one I could really watch. So that's really how I got into it. And my parents were okay with it because it was like science based, and they're like, that's fine. There's nothing weird going on there. They didn't know about DS9 and the Ferengis.
Right.
But yeah, they don't need to know about that.
That's awesome. I always wonder because we always have that gateway show or that gateway person. In my case, it was my mom in the original series. She got me watching it from there because my mom's always been a big sci-fi head and in Star Trek, and I watched the original, and then when Next Gen came on, it was my Star Trek. I was came out 87, so I was 9. So that was my Star Trek. I got to grow up with it, and then from there, Deep Space Nine and Voyager. So it's been an amazing ride. And then the past few years, really, we've been eating good as Trekkies.
Oh my gosh,
we've had some good entrees over the past couple of years, but it's like the last 2 years, it's just been a feeding buffet. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, between and not just outside of season 2 of Picard. I'll get into questions about that, but I mean, we've gotten Strange New Worlds. I mean, Prodigy, Lower Decks, Discovery has gotten really good in my opinion.
Yes,
I've
agreed.
Hopped onto some of the later episodes because I really didn't get into it at first, and then obviously we just finished off with Picard season 3, which is
so good.
It was so awesome. Oh my goodness. Oh man, it just Go ahead. It was so good.
If Next Gen was your first Trek, it must have been amazing to see Picard season 3 and be like reminded of your childhood and when you first saw Next Gen.
Yes, it was very much like that. But with Star Trek, and this is one of the things with the first 2 seasons of Picard, it was all about story, and the stories just really didn't make sense to me. I understood a lot of the callbacks, but it's just when everything sort of wrapped up, it was like, that was dumb. Why did that happen? It just, the writers just didn't make good stories in my opinion. And because even season 1, it was a lot of good things there with the Synthoids and the even Data, and I didn't like the whole Golem thing with Picard. But again, Picard season 3 retconned so much to make it make sense.
Yes. The thing about seasons 1 and 2 of Picard, and a creator on TikTok, I think Vanished Coffee, actually talked about it, and she recommended binge watching it in like 2 days. And she was like, I promise you'll like it if you binge watched it. And I actually ended up doing that, and I loved the first 2 seasons so much more after I binge watched it. I think those 2 seasons, if they were a movie, like if there's like movie 1 and movie 2, it would have been so good. It's so perfect. I think as a TV show, it was kind of just like, it was a lot going on, and week to week it was kind of hard to keep up with.
That makes sense when you put it there, because I can just think in my head and just kind of rewatching briefly both seasons in my head. I can see if I binge watched them instead of waiting week to week. The disappointment probably wouldn't have been as high, and it would have been less critical overall. However, contrast season 3, I felt like I watched the movie every week.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Every week.
Every episode was just jam-packed with just so much stuff, and you're just like, your mind was blown after end of that episode every week.
And the drama and the tension with everything. And I'll tell you this, when Roland showed up, I am glad I wasn't eating. I am glad I wasn't eating. I know I yelled, and I'm surprised I didn't scare people in my house, because I was like, like, talk about curveball that you never saw coming. I was like, oh. And then just the way the story unfolded, I was like, they really did the damn thing.
Yeah. So the Laren reveal, it was actually spoiled for me on the internet, like, because I made the dumb mistake of scrolling through. But when I saw her, I was just like, is this not really? And I didn't dig too much into it. But still, like, even though it was spoiled for me seeing her on screen, I was also like, oh my god, what is she gonna do?
Right. Because I was like, wait a minute, okay, she joined the Maquis. How is she back in Starfleet? I was so confused when she showed up. I'm like, but it was perfect. It was just it was a perfect callback. This season 3 was just like it was such a great swan song for next gen. But again, setting up what could be with Star Trek Legacy, it was a perfect springboard to continue. In this case, instead of we've been in the 24th century, and next gen we're now in the 25th century, technically.
I'm guessing, yeah,
because I think it's like 30 years. So we're in the 25th century, if I remember correctly. Perfect springboard to a new series. And it's just, I really think if they do a legacy series, it could really be more of an anthology series, and you don't have to focus on just 7 as the Enterprise. F was it G? Yes, G. F was the story with Shelby.
There's so many now. So many now.
I really, there's so much there they can work with, and so many characters they could bring back in. We can see even though we know what's going on with Janeway from Prodigy, still would be good to see her in live action form again.
Absolutely.
So many, let's go back to Deep Space Nine. Legacy could really live up to its name and to really revisit a lot of the legacy from that era of Star Trek. And one of the things, even, talking about going forward in the future, one of the things I like about Discovery is that now that it's in the future, it's making its own identity. And that was one of the things I really didn't like before it being a prequel. There was no identity there for the show. It was kind of mismatched. Like, it didn't really fit to everything else. But then we had Strange New Worlds, which is a prequel, but it fits. Like, you can see this fitting for TOS.
I mean, the thing with Strange New Worlds is just very traditional. It's following the traditional playbook of Star Trek. So that's why it fits in. And that's a show. I love that show. But like, it's very Trek and very predictable. That's kind of why I appreciate about Discovery. Like, it's you don't know which way Discovery is going. It's you're just like shocked every episode. With Strange New Worlds, you're like, okay, yep, I see this coming, but never with Discovery.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like about it. Strange New Worlds. Like, right now, I think someone asked me, like, if I had a series that I would recommend somebody who's never watched Star Trek before to watch, it would be Strange New Worlds. Easy, 100%, hands down, because it's so accessible. The characters, you understand all of the quote unquote archetypes. You also get an insight into what's to come. But I really love the writing for Strange New Worlds because yes, it was episodic, but you still had those connective threads that went through all of the episodes. So it wasn't serialized, but you still had callbacks to previous episodes. And I think that's a hard line to balance from what I've seen watching TV over my life. That's a hard line to balance. And the fact that they did it so well, I was just really impressed by that.
Yeah, and you make a good point. That is a very accessible Star Trek. Like, if we looked at the original 5, I don't think I could really recommend any of those for like a newbie. Like, you really have to be a sci-fi person to get into those. But with Strange New Worlds, it's the perfect entry. Like, it's easy to follow. It's very intriguing, and all these there's not you could get through that without like missing too much of like the backstory of Star Trek or like any of that stuff. It's just much easier to get into.
Exactly, yeah. Now I have a question for you. What's your favorite Star Trek movie?
What's my favorite Star Trek movie? I think it's First Contact. I love First Contact. What about you?
It's I would say First Contact. I always have to go back to Wrath of Khan.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's not even so much like, I think First Contact is just, it's next gen. It's beautiful.
It is. Yeah.
But Wrath of Khan, it's also in how it was made. And I think I rewatched it again maybe a couple months ago. And I never realized, wait a minute, Kirk and Khan literally are never on screen. They're literally against each other via like the telescreen. Like, as a kid,
You're
and even
right.
all the going, like, I never realized. I'm like, the fact that the way they were acting, the emotion, the drama, I was like, and just the pacing of the movie, it seems so much longer than what it is because of the the angst and the suspense
Mhm.
of how everything is. But the movie's like 90 minutes. It seems like
Yeah.
it's 2 hours, and I
Yeah.
was like, this is just such a well-made movie. And you
Mhm.
think they made that off of the first Star Trek, which I have to rewatch again. A lot of, that's just different. I'll put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
The first Star Trek movie is just different.
Which one was the one Shatner directed? I recently learned he directed one of those, and I was shocked.
He
It was a
directed
rap, right?
5, I believe.
Okay, 5. Okay.
Yeah, because let's see, Nicholas Myers did 2, then Nimoy did 3.
Hmm.
Did Shatner do 4? No, Shatner did 5.
Okay.
Shatner definitely did 5. I forget who did 4. But yeah, Shatner did 5, and well,
Okay.
we know how 5 turned out.
It's always amazes me how, unlike other TV shows, I like how the Star Trek actors get involved in the making of the movies or the script. Because like Next Gen and then even Deep Space Nine, like all the actors talk about how they got to produce, they got to direct, they got to write.
Right.
Or, I find that very amazing that that's allowed for them.
I love that, and I love that more so because we see how much of a family sort of atmosphere that fostered. I mean, with LeVar, we saw it off with him, how he's directed so many episodes of Trek. Riker, Frakes has directed. I feel like, did he direct Insurrection?
I forget which one it is, but one of those.
But I know he did one of them.
Yeah,
I think he might have did Insurrection. He didn't do Nemesis, so it must have been Insurrection. He did Insurrection. I'm putting my money down on that one without looking it up. Who else? There's so many others who have directed and gone behind the chair, and there's such a synergy there, and you hear them talk about others from different casts, and it's such a cool sort of family. I put it like this: it's not quite the same, but you're a certain age. Power Rangers. One of the things I see as far as like all the different casts of Power Rangers, they're like one big family of Rangers in the whole sort of Power Rangers range of them. And I equate it to Star Trek because I don't see other franchises really doing that like Star Trek does outside of Power Rangers, where regardless of what series you're on, like you're a member of the family, we treat you like part of the family. Oh, we're gonna try to get you in this show, we're gonna it is so beautiful to see these actors really embracing these roles. And also it is Star Trek, and Star Trek has had such a long history of groundbreaking moments in television. And it's one that, we're talking today because of our love of Star Trek, and it's brought so many people together. It's just a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. There's so many communities built around love of Star Trek. Like we have on TikTok, we have Trek Talk, like I don't know how many people are on it, but there's like a whole bunch of people that just do Star Trek content day in and day out. And it's so much fun. And as someone, I don't know, like growing up, I don't know if you had Star Trek friends, but I definitely didn't. And this is like the one thing that I feel like I was always missing in life. I didn't have anyone to talk about Star Trek with, and to find this community, like it's amazing.
Yeah, I actually, I guess it was beneficial, especially in high school, because I ended up going to a Catholic all-boys school. So even some of my teachers were involved. I remember Mr. Bartlinski, when Voyager came out, he didn't get a chance to watch it. So I had taped it. So I lent him my VHS copy of the Voyager premiere. So I had those sort of friends there. But even my freshman year roommate in college, he was a huge Trekkie. So we had this whole big poster of the Delta Quadrant. I mean, of the Alpha Quadrant and all the quadrants in our room and everything. And it was cool. Even my friends in high school, like we were all, I wouldn't say they were all sci-fi or Trek people, but we all went to sci-fi. So like First Contact came out, Generations came out, any sort of sci-fi movie we all went to see. So I was lucky to have a pretty good group to kind of just vibe and talk with about this. But again, my mom is the nerd, the sci-fi nerd, and she loved her some Mr. Spock, she'll say.
Oh, I love that. Well, so Mr. Spock was quite the what's the word for it? Like people loved him back then. He
yes.
What's the word I'm looking for? Like cover model? Like I don't know. I don't think that's the exact word, but yeah, I heard like Leonard Nimoy was an it boy back then.
Yeah, it was great. I know So how did you get involved with the Sci-Fi Queens podcast?
So Nita, who's another Star Trek creator on Trek Talk, was just like, "Hey, I'm doing this show. Do you want to join?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah!" Like, I love her. She's one of my like closest friends on Trek Talk. So we just thought it would be fun. And she told me this is a podcast we're gonna be talking about different women in sci-fi shows because I don't think that gets talked about enough. And I was like, I absolutely love that idea. So let's do it. And then another thing we do on the show is talk about real women of science because that's also something like how many women scientists can you name off the top of your head, right?
Right.
And so we're like, let's do that. And so that's kind of how I got involved.
Well, I think that's up. I haven't caught many, but I think I caught some of the episode the other day with the when you guys were talking about power. Was it the power or power?
Yes,
The power.
yeah.
Yes, and I just that the premise of that show scares me.
Yeah.
Well, look, I have a friend.
Mm-hmm.
His little girl is now a teenager, and I just hear the horror stories, and I hear what's coming in my life, and I'm like, yeah. And we I think we reacted to over from. I also do other stuff, but Nerds Rule the World. I think we reacted to that trailer, and we both were like, yeah, no, we don't want to, because we would both be dead. One bad day is like, look, he has a teenager, so the look, he's like, the looks I get. What happened to my little girl? Yeah, he would be dead. He would be dead.
Well, that's just how all teenagers are, right? Eventually they come around. Like, yes, I think I was like 24, 25 when I started liking my parents again. Like, I've always loved them, but it's just, you gotta go into adulthood to really connect with them
but
again.
They don't have powers to generate electricity, though.
True.
That's the scary part of it.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. I'm always looking for other podcasts to listen to. Now, with Trek, like what other sci-fi are you into outside of Trek, if any?
I'm a huge Stargate fan. That's my second love. I absolutely love Stargate. And there have been talks about them bringing it back, which I hope they do, because I absolutely love it. The other thing was I was watching Battlestar a couple months ago. I kind of dropped off, but I did get back into Battlestar.
Yes.
And you had encouraged me to watch Battlestar too.
Battlestar is another one where, especially as it went on, like the twists and turns, it was like, wait, what happened? Who?
Yeah.
What? And especially because I started watching Battlestar, at least the remake, when it was just the miniseries before it got picked up as a as a series. So from watching it from there to where it ended, I'm like, I never ever would have seen that coming. It is such a great piece of science fiction television, and of course Ronald D. Moore, so we know him from Deep Space Nine. So that was to be expected. I will say this though, another one in, if you have Babylon 5 is a very good show.
Good things. Yeah.
That is, I'm always like, what stream? It's on Tubi, so it's free, all 5 seasons.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
I was looking up stuff the other day when I was on Tubi to find. Tubi has a lot of great things that people don't even realize, but that's on Tubi, so that's a good one, but that's a lot. And the reason I looked it up because they are doing an animated movie. J. Michael Straczynski, who created it, he's doing an animated movie for Max, HBO Max, whatever the heck they call it now, with many of the surviving cast members, and that's coming out sometime in the near future. So I think that's, if you're talking about that sort of pure sci-fi, especially in that sort of Star Trek vein and good character development, I think that's one you would definitely enjoy watching. Once you, especially if you like Battlestar, you'll definitely like Babylon 5, because that's just one of those series that Babylon 5 ran so Battlestar could walk. Oh wow, okay, good to know. Yeah. Okay, we'll add that to my list, my ever-growing list. I tell like some people like gaming, there's always a backlog. There's always a backlog of shows. Like there's so many shows, like I want to watch The Expanse, just haven't gotten around to it. Yeah, I've heard that's a really good show. There are a couple other ones I know like on Netflix that I have saved, I just haven't got back. And also for me, I have been slowly but surely rewatching Deep Space Nine. Oh, because partially, so this is my problem with Deep Space Nine. So well, really Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I left for college the fall of '96. Okay. So where I went to school, they didn't show Deep Space Nine, but they showed Voyager. But they showed Voyager on like Saturday at 1:00. I'm a college student.
Yeah.
I am not in my dorm room on a Saturday at 1:00. So I missed out on a lot of Voyager being in school.
Yeah.
So I've caught it back and forth. And even Deep Space Nine, that was the last season. So I caught a lot of the last few episodes of that 7th season when I came home and I saw the finale. But a lot of like that middle chunk of season 7, like I missed out on. And I'm like, I know how it ended. I know everything that happened. Like I'm watching everything from the beginning. So I think the last time I stopped in on DS9, I think I was in season 5.
Okay.
And then after that, this was my plan. My goal was I finished Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I go through Voyager. Then I finally give Enterprise a chance.
Okay.
That was my plan.
Okay.
It's been several years now. I'll get to Enterprise eventually because one of the things, this is one of the things about Star Trek, and this comes from my change your heart about Doctor Who. Because I love Doctor Who, but for so many years, like it was the 4th Doctor or nobody. But then they brought out the new seasons, with Echelon, and I've been watching ever since. Well, yeah, even up to.
Oh, you're talking about original.
Yeah, I'm talking about original, like BBC rubber puppets. So,
okay.
Because they showed it on public television when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
So I fell in love with it then, and then when they brought out the new series, I loved it. But the new series helped me go back and look at the 1st Doctor, the 2nd Doctor, the 3rd Doctor, the 5th. Like it gave me an appreciation for all of them. So I love every Doctor now. The 4th Doctor is still my favorite, but I go back and I watch and I enjoy and I take in the stories. So I'm doing the same thing with Star Trek. I'm going back and I'm absorbing all of this Trek. And then that way, when I go to Enterprise, I can look at it in a new perspective. Because when it came out, I'm like, why are they doing a prequel? Whose right idea was to do a prequel before? Like that was just the dumbest. I have this big thing about prequels. Personally, most of like 99% of the time, prequels suck in my opinion. Yeah, and then you have something like A Strange New Worlds. Yeah, but most of the time they suck.
Enterprise is what, like 100 years before Kirk's Adventures? Is that the?
Yes.
Gosh, I was like, maybe they can bring it back for In Strange New Worlds, but they can't. That show's just like off in the corner by itself. There's no way we can bring any of those characters back. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. And but I want to watch it because at this point in my Trekdom, I'm at a point where I can sit and actually watch it for what it is or what it was instead of comparing it to everything else that I love. Like I can take it for what it is, especially with the multitude and diversity of Star Trek that we have now, while you still have those connecting sort of tissues of what Roddenberry envisioned.
Yeah, and honestly, I need to rewatch Enterprise as well because that's one that I've like kind of seen here and there, and I've never actually done a full watch through, and so like I don't think I have the full appreciation for it either. So maybe you and I can do it together. We just need to sit down and rewatch Enterprise. And you also could probably skip the first 2 seasons of Voyagers because those are 3 very rough seasons.
Yeah, that I saw somewhat as really the later seasons of Voyager.
You didn't like the later seasons?
No, as far as not being able to really see them.
I see.
Like I caught some of the reruns of the first. First 3 seasons I was sophomore year. I was still in school, so I saw those. Okay. It's the latter seasons of Voyager that I missed, and then even same thing with Enterprise. Since I stayed there for grad school, so it still wasn't that. Like they didn't show it at a optimum. Like I am not watching TV at 1:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday, or it was the worst times for someone who's in college to watch television. Like show it to me at 3 a.m, then I watch it. But 1:00 on a Saturday, I'm busy. Right. So we should do that at Enterprise. Watch it. Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think a lot of people need to rewatch Enterprise because there's still a lot of hate for it. Do you remember like a couple years ago, maybe like 10 years ago, there was a lot of hate for DS9, and then people watched it in the past 10 years and they've started to love it. And now I would say DS9 is like the top for almost a lot of people, not everybody, but people are really loving and appreciating it. And I think we're going to go through the same cycle for Enterprise. At least I hope that we do, because I'm pretty sure Enterprise is a good show. We just need to all do a rewatch, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. Deep Space, not Deep Space. Next Gen is my favorite.
Yeah.
But Deep Space Nine is the best.
Yes. Oh my
It's-
God.
Okay, let me back up for a second. So I love Deep Space Nine from the start because
okay.
when I heard they cast Avery Brooks,
Oh yeah.
now, Avery Brooks was at least at that time, I grew up in the 80s, so I knew him from Spencer for Hire and then
Okay.
his spin-off show called A Man Called Hawk. It's like, okay, and so anybody with the name Hawk, just for I'll tell you offline,
Yeah.
I will explain why I gravitate toward that person. But when I heard that, I'm like, wait a minute, there's a black captain?
Yeah.
What? Really? And then it's Avery Brooks. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sold. And you can imagine how excited my mom was at that point in time. So I was hooked from then. And then when we got that first episode, Emissary, I just, this is what you call acting here.
Yeah.
And just the emotion. And, we saw some of that with Picard, but just, we had never really seen emotional fallout from Wolf.
Exactly.
5'9". We'd never seen it, and to see that so in your face in the way that we did, and like that was just a beautiful start to the series. And we didn't know it there, but just Cisco's journey throughout, but just the characters, like it was such a great show with the twists and turns, the religious politics that were part of the show with with Kai and the prophets. It was so different, but it was so much more current with the real world because of the themes and topics that they talked about.
And has it been 25 years? I think even 25 years later, it's so relevant. That show is still so relevant. I was rewatching it during the pandemic, and I was like, "This is getting too real." I don't know if I should be watching this show right now.
Oh yeah. And I think that's why it resonates so much now, because it's so realistic even today. 20, almost, is it 30 years? I think it debuted in 92.
I'm not sure exactly. I don't know what they just
7
celebrated.
years, 92 to. Or maybe 91, because it was 7 years and it ended in 1997, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's like 90 and 91 is when it started.
So almost 30. So 30.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's amazing.
So crazy.
But that just shows you how good of a show it is when you can go back 30 years later and so many things are still relevant today. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it might be a bad thing. I don't know. But it's very scary. I look at them like it's very scary, but
Right, exactly. So what's next? Are you guys what's on the next episode of Sci-Fi Queens? What's coming?
We're going to be covering Doctor Who. That's another big property that I absolutely love, and I forgot to mention. But we're going to be talking about Donna specifically because, come on, she's one of the best, I think, sidekicks.
Okay, I didn't realize it's not one anniversary special. There are 3.
What do you mean? There's 3?
The specials that are coming. There are 3 specials. I thought it was just one. Yes,
oh my God.
The new promo. There are 3. There are 3
Holy
specials.
Cow. Okay.
Right.
Okay, I gotta hop back in because so after Matt Smith's Doctor, I watched Peter Capaldi. The first 2 seasons of his show was really rough, and they finally got it together in the 3rd season. But then he quit, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm so frustrated. And then I love Jodie, but Picard started, or not Picard, I think it was Picard or Discovery. One of them started right in the middle of her run, and I was like, bye, Doctor Who, Star Trek is back. So I need to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, we watched it religiously. Jodie wasn't horrible.
No, she wasn't at all.
She just had bad. We go back to the writing. The writing was bad, and the sad thing about it for me, I think, that last season, Flux, was probably her best season from a story perspective. It was still a bit convoluted, but it was exciting. I wanted to know what happened next. Some things still don't make sense, but I thought it was very well done overall, especially compared to, in totality, some of her previous seasons. But I like Jodie. Jodie's one I feel like she just needed a better showrunner to really excel as the Doctor.
Yeah.
I don't think she really got a chance. I loved Capaldi again. Started off rough.
Yeah.
Real rough. For me, after Clara left, it got better. I felt like that.
Yeah.
She as a companion ran her course and everything became so centered on her. And especially in his second season.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, she needs to go. I'm not feeling. And then it bit in Bill Potts, and I like that whole dynamic.
Oh my God.
And even how she ended was sad, but still it was.
Yeah.
I like that, and especially in Missy and how that played out, and it was very enjoyable. It was very good Doctor Who.
I wish they had carried her storyline into Jodie Whittaker's, because I think that would have made the transition a lot easier. But we just got, it was like such an abrupt ending, and then we got Jodie, and then everything new, and you're just like, okay, like where am I right now?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think I had my issues with Jodie's run. I put it that way. I think it was too bloated and not enough story. I loved all the companions. Didn't need all the companions.
Right. Yeah.
You know, especially to go as long as they did. And when you have 4 people to try to build as far as their characters, somebody's losing. And unfortunately, the Doctor's the one that lost a lot of time as far as that character arc and that character building.
Yeah.
So when they slimmed down the cast a little bit, and even when they brought in Dan toward the end, I liked the dynamic he brought into it, especially him and Yaz with Jodie's Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
But it's you know, I look back at all Doctor Who's and I just say, it's Doctor Who, so I still enjoy it. It's just some are better than others.
Yeah. Christopher Eccleston was my favorite Doctor. Like, I loved him. And Russell T Davies is back for the new season, right? Thank God.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited to see what he has. Oh my gosh.
And I forget the new Doctor, I forget his name. I'm really looking forward to see what he does.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, I looked at some of the stuff after he was announced, but especially with Russell T Davies, I just feel very excited. And then with this bridge this is one of the things I like about this. And I've seen people complain about Tennant coming back. I'm like, okay, did you not watch how Jodie's run ended?
Yeah.
With the whole different doctors and like, it makes perfect sense for a Tennant Doctor to come back with the way that worked. I'm like, this makes sense, and there's a lot of story there based on what was already established at the end of Jodie's run.
Is he back just for those 3 episodes, or are we getting a whole
he's a transition.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because
what I understand, he's a transition.
Okay.
Things change, but I know the other guy is the new 14th, 15th, whatever Doctor he's going to be. Should we even keep counting anymore?
Yeah, I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. But yeah, because the previous anniversary, we also had like 3 Doctors. So like, come on, like get it together, people. Like, why are people surprised?
Exactly. Yeah. It makes sense in the way the story ended. So I'm like, why are you complaining? Why are you complaining? We're getting more Doctor Who.
I know.
It could be 87 again when they cancel it and then give us that Fox movie, which I still have on VHS tape in my garage somewhere, I think.
Oh, that weird like standalone Doctor, that one?
Yes.
Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes, with Paul McGann.
Yes.
That's when I wish had gotten more time as a Doctor. Even that show he did, the Night of the Doctor for the 50th anniversary.
Okay.
Like, I know he's done a lot of radio plays for Big Finish, which really fleshed out his time. And that's one of the things I haven't gotten into. I haven't gotten into the radio plays, but I know he's been quite prolific with really fleshing out his Doctor in the radio plays over the past few decades. But I wish we'd have gotten more of him. I'm trying to think. We didn't get anything in the finale with Jodie, even though we got, which I love, all these other Doctors and all these other companions, and we got this closure in many respects. I love seeing Ace back with Sylvester McCoy. It's I think of the older Doctors, I think the 8th Doctor is probably, is it the 8th Doctor? Anyway, Sylvester McCoy's Doctor is probably my second favorite, or actually third favorite. I still got the second Doctor, the second best, but there was something about the 80s and then Ace as his companion. And Ace was just, that might be something you guys look at. Just Ace as a companion and a female in sci-fi. She was so different and just groundbreaking for a companion back then, using explosive and being a sort of a epitome of sort of an 80s punk rebel then. Didn't really take nothing from nobody. Would beat a Dalek up with an aluminum bat, plant some dynamite. Like she was not a
Yeah,
traditional companion.
no, she wasn't. I mean, all of the Doctor's companions, they write the companions really well. I love all the
Yes.
Doctor's companions. They do that really good.
Yeah, they do. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to what they do with Donna. I'm
Yeah, me too.
really waiting to see how they explain this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we are going to end it there because I know we both got to get to dinner.
Yes, we do.
But tell everybody where they can find you.
So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere, and my handle is at that girl Avon. Avon is spelled Ayvan. And yeah, just find me there, and you'll probably be hooked up to all my other socials, and you know how that works.
Navia, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I know we'll be talking offline.
Yes.
You guys take care. All her links in the show notes.
Thank
Peace.
you.
And that was our interview with Navia. It was such a great time talking to her. We could have talked even longer about Star Trek and Doctor Who and sci-fi in general, but make sure you check out at all of her links down below in the show notes. Now, let's talk some more Star Trek. And, well, us Trekkies, we've been eating good lately, but we had one of our courses taken away from us lately. Just as of today, at the time of this recording, it was announced that even though it was supposed to have a second season, that Star Trek Prodigy has been canceled. And not just that, it's being taken off of Paramount Plus. Now, I will admit Star Trek Prodigy is not a Star Trek show I gotten into. I watched some of it, enjoyed it, but it never sat down to actually watch the show from beginning to end. But from what I saw, I liked a lot, and it's just one of those ones I had on the back burner. Well, with the streaming Armageddon, the way streaming is working now, it's not just the fact that they cancel shows, they totally remove shows from the streaming service. So Star Trek Prodigy wasn't just the only show from from Paramount Plus that was removed. The rest of them I could care less about, especially that Grease Pink Ladies one. That was destined to fail because who wanted to see that? Anyway, there's still no word on whether or not it's being taken off of Nickelodeon in reruns, and that would be an interesting aspect as well if it's totally taken off of the network in addition to the streaming service. But let's pull one out, or let's pull out some Raktuccino for Star Trek Prodigy. I really wish that they would have gotten to put out their second season and maybe have gotten a chance to really end the series properly instead of having the rug pulled out from under it so abruptly. Let's talk about some positive news about Star Trek. Well, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is out, and at the time of this recording, we've gotten episodes 1 and 2. Episode 1, The Broken Circle, and episode 3, Ad Astra per Aspera. Now, episode 1 dealt with some remnants of the Klingon Federation War, and we got to play catch up with our crew since we last saw them. Overall, I thought it was a really good episode, although I did feel that it was sort of rushed. I don't know, it was weird. It was good. It just felt like it could have been longer, but it felt like a lot of plot points were rushed during the course, especially toward the last 15 minutes or so of the episode. Now, I will say this much. I really enjoy the character development Dr. Mbenga has gotten. Not first season, but even in this first episode, you see a lot of his residual emotions with regards to the Klingon Federation War. And in many respects, he and Nurse Chapel pretty much went John Wick on them with the help of some stimulants, especially Dr. Mbenga. So I really enjoyed that, as well as Spock being in command for the first time, and you see that he is very unsure of himself. I was very unsure about the Spock, seeing this much of a younger Spock. compared to the Spock that we know. But I'm really enjoying seeing this Spock that is still very much wrestling with his emotions and seeing how he deals with it. I really like that aspect of the character. And then Pike, Anson Mount as Pike, is just absolutely wonderful. And I really enjoy him as Pike. And it's one of those things where, you know he's going to go eventually, but he's going to really leave such a mark on that character. I'm glad that they chose Strange New Worlds to really give us a Pike to remember, a character to remember, which makes his ultimate fate that much more tragic and heartbreaking. Jeffrey, I forget the original actor who played Pike in The Cage, Jeffrey something or other. I loved him in that role. I mean, The Cage to this day is still one of my favorite episodes of the original series. And we never really got to see a lot of Pike, with the switch to Kirk and everything from the network. So with that, it's good to see this Pike as a character, and for him to really, at least from the cinematic and television aspects of the character, because I know there have been books and whatnot written about him, it's good to see that character really manifest and grow over the course of this series. So when he does ultimately meet that tragedy, which will scar him and leave him wheelchair bound, it hurts that much more, in my opinion. So, but the first episode, the Broken Circle, was really good. I enjoyed the Klingon makeup. I'm not even going to ask any questions why they look like Next Generation era Klingons instead of original Trek Klingons. I don't care about that anymore. I'm done with that question. So that was a good first episode. Next episode, Ad Astra per Aspera. There is something about Star Trek and courtroom episodes where they just are able to knock it out of the park. Now, this episode saw us pick back up with Una and her trial for coming out as an Elorian. And they end up getting a lawyer who was a friend of hers, who was an Elorian, or is an Elorian, Nira Ketolu, played by Yataid Bedakai. I'm screwing her name up, I'm sorry, but she was fucking phenomenal. Oh my God. First of all, she was just absolutely gorgeous. And then the dresses they had her in, she just had this commanding presence throughout this episode. This was a great episode, but it was made more of a great episode because of her presence. And I hope that she comes back. But at the end of the day, she found a way to get Una off. She rejoins the crew. So it's going to be business as usual for the rest of the season. So I am looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to that Strange New Worlds, not Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks crossover, but that's later on in the season. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So that's my take on the current season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It's still batting 1,000 as far as I am concerned, and I'm looking forward to the remaining 8 episodes with bated breath. Let's talk about the fragrance of the week. Now, the fragrance of the week is a fragrance that I think is very aptly named. And it is Good Man by the Fragrance Bar. And you can get this fragrance for $35 for just 30 mLs. Yes, it is that low of a price. And it's also an EDP concentration. So let me get into the notes and then I will talk about my opinion of the fragrance. Now, the description is that it's clean lavender notes, succulent melon, and tart mandarin orange intertwined with bracing artemisia, invigorating black pepper spice, and the rosy nuances of fragrant geranium blossoms. Minty patchouli, spicy tonka bean, and aromatic French lambdanum blend together to unite, enhance, and complete this fragrant accord. Let me tell you, if I smelled that fragrance and I wore that fragrance, I would think it was a fragrance that was at least 3 times the cost. I was very surprised by how the fragrance is subtle but powerful at the same time. The melon gives a nice sort of sweet freshness to it, but then you have the spice. Well, it's a cleanness and soothingness of the lavender. You have that sweetness of the melon and the tart of the orange, but it's really the spice and the patchouli. It is such a good fragrance. I was very surprised because it's one of those fragrances that when you smell it from the bottle, it smells one way, and from the bottle it just smelled like the patchouli was very heavy. The tonka bean was very heavy. So I got that minty spice more so because it was like a little leak in the bag that it came in. But when I sprayed it on my body, it was cool. It was fresh. It was very grown manish. The name, it lives up to the name. It's one that I actually wore every day that week. It's perfect for the office. It is absolutely perfect for the office. I love it. And it's such a different mix of notes compared to anything that I have worn before. It doesn't remind me of any designers that I've worn. Of course, there's so many fragrances out there. I'm pretty sure it smells like something. But I really enjoy this fragrance. Dare I say I love this fragrance. And it's one that is really in one of my top 5 as far as if there's something I don't want to think about. Yes, that quickly. If I don't want to think about it, especially if I'm going into the office, there are a handful of fragrances I can just grab and not think about and be perfectly fine with it. And just like that, that is one of those fragrances in my collection that I really, really love. So that's my take on Good Man by the Fragrance Bar. And, check it out. It's only $35. Why not? So that's the end of the show. How can you support us? Well, you can support us by, first of all, checking out Basil and Sage subscription boxes. They feature Black-owned products. Right now in the month of June, they're featuring a Juneteenth box, which, well, let me tell you, I came away impressed with all the items there. The beard balm, the beard brush is so soft. The beard oil, as well as the Juneteenth socks from Savvy Socks, which is so comfortable and they're like calf length, so it's really awesome. The boxes retail for $50 and you get way more than $50 worth of product in that box. But if you use the code Webster Style 10, you will get a discount on your first box. Also, check out Pete and Pedro. Specifically, I recommend their fragrances. I haven't tried any of their hair products or other items, but their fragrances are definitely awesome. Make sure you use code EHawks10 or the link in the show notes for 10% off your first purchase. Or if you're looking for a different type of energy drink, you're not looking for all those syrupy, sugary, carbonated energy drinks, try Dubby. Get 10% off your first purchase using code WebsterMan or the link in the show notes. Of course, I am everywhere around on that. I'm doing so many quadruple, double, triple, quintuple duties all around the net every single week. You'll find me everywhere. You will find me every week with my man Brian Saff and the producer Kuya P over at Nerds Rule the World with the NRW Checkpoint, talking about the latest and greatest in video gaming for the week. You'll check me out, back with Kuya P, and this time with Sean Mongo talking about wrestling with the Kayfabe Baby, the NRW Ring Generals podcast. And of course, every week you'll find me right here with the Sartorial Geek podcast by Webster Style on all of your audio platforms, including YouTube. And of course, you'll find various videos throughout the week on the Webster Style Magazine YouTube channel. Check me out on social media: Instagram, Webster Style and Sartorial Geek, Twitter, Webster Style, and then TikTok _Webster Style. Make sure you find anything and everything that is Webster Style at websterstyle.com. And of course, drop me an email, questions, comments. Hey, you want to be on the show? You want to interview? Let me know. info@websterstylemagazine.com. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for your listening ear. And remember, stay safe out there and be blessed.
Swag out them boss. Is that bow tie Paisley?